Hi guys, it's Bree here from Breathe Fit. Today I'd like to answer a question I hear. A lot of you guys ask me, how comes I'm working out for an hour doing cardio or 2 hours at the gym, regularly, say 5 days a week, and I'm not seeing any weight loss or any fat burn. I'd like to kind of just go over a little bit why that could be. Again, everyone's situation is different, so don't take it as I'm saying this is what is going on in your specific situation. I'm merely presenting possibilities and maybe hopefully trying to get your minds thinking like, okay, well this, is what's going to cause the fat burn and I'm not doing that, or I might be doing it, or I might have to tweak it. So what I like to start out with is know your intensity level. A lot of older clients that I've worked with have asked the question, what should my maximum heart rate be? And that honestly is very, again, kind of wish-washy, person to person, very different. There are charts if you go online that will say like, okay, so you're 67, it'll have a chart like this, your age, heart rate, kind of have a graph showing a little bit, like say, okay, this might be a max heart rate for somebody at 70 or 80 or 20. It shows you the very, very general range. The problem I have with that is somebody who has been eating potato chips all their life, sitting on the couch, not doing anything, very sedentary, and it's a 60-year-old or 50-year-old, versus somebody who's been hiking all the time, eating really healthy, then if they're the same age, the heart strength and the quality of how the blood can flow, the oxygen is carried throughout the body, it's going to be different person to person. So you can take that, there's two very extreme cases, but it kind of just presents the point, or presents the idea, there's no box you can fit, okay, this age group is this. So use that as a guideline. If you're very new to the gym, if you're kind of cautious, it's very, very good to be cautious and kind of stay on the safer side. So definitely you can check those out online, but keep in mind my analogy with that as well, that it might not be 100% true all the time. So one thing I like to talk to people about is the zones. There's a couple different zones that you go through as you're working out that you're going to put your heart in. The first one's called the VT1 zone, and with that you can kind of label it or gauge it by what's called the talk test. So for example, say you're on the treadmill, you're walking, jogging, or whatever. If you can talk comfortably, you're not quite at the VT1. As soon as you get to the point where you're breathing heavily and having you can tell it's more difficult to talk, or even some people would say to sing, they'd use that example, you've hit that zone. So for people who haven't worked out in a while, that's probably a really safe bet. That's probably a really safe place to start, is that VT1 zone. It's going to be more of a low intensity. You'd want to do that one for maybe a longer period of time to do more endurance, build your body up, get used to those exercises. You don't want to go head into full on intensity, like sprints, things like that if you're not used to it. Especially depending on age, that can be pretty dangerous. So if you do have a fitness professional that works close to you, works at your gym, talk to them, bounce ideas off of them. I know when I would work at the gym, I'd love when people would come up to me and just ask me questions, because I was there to help. So definitely take advantage of that. And also, when you're doing that, when you're talking to the people, try to really listen for keywords, listen for any red flags. If any red flags go up, be very cautious, because there are trainers that are so good out there, and then there's some that you're talking to them and you're just like, how did you get certified? So definitely be careful. But if you have someone that you trust, or you hear good things from, or you see results from, I'd recommend going and bouncing ideas off of them. So again, VT1, really good place to start. Now there's such thing as a VT2, and that's pretty much getting into a higher intensity. There's not really a specific way to gauge that, but it's above the VT1, obviously. So what I say with this is, typically people, will make the mistake of holding themselves back. So say for example, I just started going to the gym, I'm 2 weeks in, I'm doing my exercises and the cardio intensity level at around VT1. I'm feeling pretty good, I'm getting more confident. A lot of things that I see people do is kind of hold themselves back. They don't take that next step up. They're not like, okay, from walking I'm going to go to jogging, or jogging I'm going to go to running, or doing intermittent sprints. People don't usually take that step. I think that's really important. But you kind of have to know, again, the heart strength, what your body can take. And again, it just takes time. it's good to be cautious, but you also want to push yourself. A lot of times at the gym, people will stay at the VT1, they'll go for hours and not understand why they're not losing weight. And I'm going to tell you, it's because of the intensity level. You want to burn the calories. So surefire rule is if you consume less calories than you burn in a day, you're going to lose weight no matter what. That's like a black and white thing. If you consume the same as what you burn in a day, you're going to maintain the weight. And then obviously if you consume more, you're going to gain the weight. There's no way around that. That is the bottom line. So you can see why like nutrition and stuff would go hand in hand with fitness. When you start looking at like what you're eating, if you're consuming really high calorie recovery meals or, you know, desserts and things like that, it's probably no surprise that you're not going to lose weight. Some people might even gain weight. When you're doing really long periods of low intensity cardio, you're not pushing your body. It would be like equivalent to you walking around the mall shopping or walking to the bus stop or to work, or, you know, I'm a waitress walking around work. And you can see why that's not really any different than your actual lifestyle for some people. Again, this is speaking relatively. So something I'd really encourage you to think of is the intensity level. Now, I'm going to try to explain the best way that I can something it's the ratio of what you burn fat to carbs with when you're doing exercise. Try to follow me, and I apologize in advance if this is really hard. It's a more complicated topic, but I want my videos to be something that like y'all learn from and not like, oh, okay, you know I need to work out intensely and whatever. I want to kind of challenge your brains here for a second, if you guys will let me. When your heart is beating at a lower intensity, so if you're doing walking, you're going to be burning a higher percentage of fat in your body versus carbs. Okay, so those are the two things that we're going to compare. For example, you could be walking, burning 80% fat, 20% carbs. That was just a number out of the air. But you kind of get that ratio. As you work at a higher intensity, you're going to be burning 80% carbs, 20% fat, so if you start running. A lot of times when people hear those ratios and they say, oh, well then that's easy, like I'll just do lower intensity and I'll go longer and I'll burn more fat. But people miss like the key illustration here, and I'm actually going to try to attempt to draw this out for you. You guys can kind of, just focus with it. I'm going to kind of explain it verbally first. That way when you see me drawing it out a second time, maybe it'll kind of, register a little bit better. When you work out at a higher intensity, you burn a lot more calories. So the ratio of carbs to fat would be a lot more carbs to fat at a higher intensity. But the amount of calories from fat that you're burning is still going to be higher at a higher intensity because the amount of calories you're burning is greater. Now I'm just going to show you really quick with bar graphs and things, kind of what I mean, and hopefully it makes sense. Okay guys, so I didn't think out my demonstration as well as what I would have liked. I think that the numbers are going to show backwards, so I redid it to a much plainer bar graph. So hopefully you can still kind of get the idea. It doesn't look as official without all the numbers, but I'm going to explain them to you as I go. So I have two bar graphs here. This one is going to be the one of the person. We're going to say also, just to preface, 30 minutes of exercise with both higher intensity and lower intensity. Okay, so the bottom box right here is going to be the amount of fat that they burned. So with this one here, the smaller one, if you guys want to write this down, I'll try to put up a picture then when I'm editing it, burned 41% fat. So you can see how like the halves are pretty close. Actually, this is very unrealistic. So picture 41% fat here, 24% fat here. So the amount or the percentage of fat that they're burning is higher with the low intensity than it is with the higher. But as you can see, I tried to make my lines in a way that you guys kind of see the difference. Because of how many calories they burn total, we're going to say they still burn more fat than if they were doing it at a lower intensity. So burning fat and burning carbs would be more of like what's in your muscles, like the muscle glycogen, and burning fat would be the long-term storage. So we do want that, but you can see through this graph, hopefully, it's gonna still take longer, like a lot longer, to burn as much fat using the lower intensity method as you could in a lot shorter of a time, a lot more effectively with the higher intensity method. So as y'all start to work out, get more comfortable, my recommendation is always make sure that you're pushing yourself to a new level every single day. You want to continue to strive for that. Hopefully this graph worked. I'm really disappointed about the numbers being backwards. But I'll try to show you like when I'm editing the video, so hopefully y'all can see that. So message me if you have any questions on this lesson. I know the end part was really hard or complex, I guess. Just to summarize though, really quick, start out with a lower intensity, VT1. You can use the talk test or the sing test. Then you know when you're hitting it, you want to start out there for the first couple weeks. Then you can move up past that. We want to get to higher intensities to burn the fat that we have stored in our body. That's where you're going to get the most fat burn. When you can get that heart rate up there is when you know you're experiencing that fat burn. The heart rate is going to go directly in correlation with the intensity that you're working your body. When you work at less or lower at a lower intensity, the heart rate's not going to beat as hard. That's another thing too. If you're working out at a lower intensity, you feel your heart really pounding, don't move up. Just ease into it, because your heart will adjust to the demands that you're placing on the body. The heart will respond. It just may take time. It takes time to condition your body to what you want it to do if you haven't been exercising or in the gym for a while. So keep that in mind, that you do want to push yourself. Last thing I'm going to leave you with, just for all of you guys, you crazy gym gurus out there, when you want to do the high intensity, best way to do that is to exert as much force from your body as you can. So things like sprints with the rowing machine, doing really fast sprints with the rowing machine. Any really intense bout of exercise is perfect. Now the problem is you can't do it for very long. You want to back off, let the heart rate drop a little bit, then shoot it back up. We're going to do interval training, and I'll have an entire video on that because that is my favorite thing to talk about. But again, it just kind of ties in. So definitely, if you want to, in the meantime, look up HITT, high intensity interval training, and I'll talk to you more about that. It's going to be the best and most effective way to burn that fat. You'll definitely feel it that way. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.